The Griffin Institute. I'm often asked, how did you do it? What did you do? How are you going to do the next thing, and what are you going to do? But I think before we speak to those questions, we must understand why. I was born in 1978 in a town called Harvey, Illinois, back when my neighbors valued community, and they also cared about the children in the neighborhood. There was a time I got in trouble at school, and the teacher said, "Roosevelt, get up, go stand on the wall, hold your hands out, hold these books," and I had to stand up against the wall. After I left the classroom, I had to go to the principal and now answer to the principal. As I walked home from school, it seemed like there was 6, 7, 8 homes, and every time I walked past each house, somebody would walk out and say, "Roosevelt, I heard about what you did at school." The next house, "Get over here. Now, you don't do that again. I'm watching you. You have to answer to me," and so on and so on. And so when I finally made it to the house, I opened the door. "Ma, I learned my lesson. I want to do it again." And she said, "Wait, what are you talking about?" See, what I'm talking about is the notion that it takes a village to raise a child. And for me, that was especially true because, unfortunately, at the age of 5, my biological father, chose the street life and drugs rather than stay at home and be a father and participate in our family life. So I had a village, but it was missing one person. But that didn't stop me because my village stood in the gaps. And at the age of 10, I joined the school's band program, and that village was extended. And that band room became part of my village. I had a band director who valued community within the band room, who understood the needs of myself and my peers, who understood that we had to get out of Harvey to see other things as part of our education. And so from middle school, I went into my high school band program, and my band director soon became like a father to me. In fact, I would call him Pops. And he also nurtured that type of community in the band room. And I found great success in music and in sports. I was a tuba player. I loved the tuba. I often tell my students about this young lady that I had my eye on. And I couldn't play saxophone because back then everybody loved the saxophone players. So I had to play tuba for her. So I tell all my students, the male students, I said, if you really, really, really want a girlfriend, play the tuba. So anyhow, I found great success in tuba. I played varsity football, which was allowed by my band director. My band director supported me playing football. I was that kid that during halftime, I'd be on the field in my football uniform. So again, it took this community of other parents and teachers to support what I was doing. And that meant a lot to me. During high school, I was a 4-time participant in the ILMEA or ILMEA district ensemble. By junior year, I was the number 2 tuba player in the state of Illinois. And by senior year, I sat in the top seat here in Illinois. And so I had opportunities to go all over the country on full ride scholarships to go to university. But ultimately, I met this wonderful, wonderful man at NIU by the name of Ron Carter. I actually played bass trombone in one of his ILMEA ensembles, and we became close. And there was something about this man that drew me to him. So I didn't know anything about NIU, but I knew that he was there, and I wanted to actually go where he was. So I entered NIU. I participated in the NIU Philharmonic, and I participated in the jazz ensemble for 5 years. Some of you all finished in 4, I finished in 5. And I needed every last one of those days to finish. But by that time, I had did so much traveling, I had seen so many things and met new friends, a lot of friends that didn't look like me. I was exposed to so much because of music and because of the support and because of my village. After graduating NIU, I began to travel and touring around the world playing all types of music. And one day I found myself in Italy eating dinner. And I said, how in the world does a fluffy kid from Harvey who plays tuba, who did not have a father in the household, make it to Italy getting paid to play music? I thought about it. It was my education and it was my village that brought me there. Because statistically, I had a better chance of being incarcerated than graduating from college. And so at that point, I knew I needed to go back home to Harvey and help every other young person get to that point where they can see the world and do the things that they want to do in life. So I came back home and I was able to get a job at the very same middle school that I actually went. And my band director was still there, and I had the pleasure of spending 1 year under his tutelage. And I learned so much. I learned so much about giving to the kids and taking them to McDonald's and taking them to this concert and that concert. And he finally retired. And once he retired, I said, yes, this is my band. Finally, it's my band. I am going to do so much with this band. I am going to take them to this competition and win this trophy. I am going to do this and do that. We're going to practice 6 days a week, 3 hours a day. We're going to be the best sounding band ever. And so we did that. 6 days a week, 3 hours a day. And the band sounded really good. We would go places and win trophies, and we'll come back with trophies. Yeah. Until we actually participated in one event that's very, very, very well known to us here in the Chicago area. It was a competition. And because I'm a tuba player, I valued symphonic band just as much as jazz. And I took both groups to this competition. The jazz band, they performed. They weren't focused, goofing around, being silly, on the way to the competition, telling jokes on the bus. So they just wouldn't focus. They performed. They had 6 other schools in their class. So they performed, and it was an okay performance. And afterwards, I told them that I was a bit disappointed at how they actually prepared for that performance. Symphonic band, on the other hand, they were focused. In fact, that performance, I had never heard this group of students play that caliber, to that level. And they performed, and it was amazing. And afterwards, I was telling them how well and how proud I was of them, great focus. But then it was time for the results. And by the way, the symphonic band had 26 other bands in their class. So it went something like this. And in first place, from Harvey, Illinois, Gwendolyn Brooks Middle School Jazz Band with a rating of excellent. The kid said, woohoo! Woohoo! But you all didn't give your all. What are you excited about? With the rating of superior, 6th place, Gwendolyn Brooks Middle School Symphonic Band. The kids started to cry. And before you knew it, the jazz band kids began to tease the symphonic band kids. I was furious. I lined up all the kids along the side of the bus. I said, don't you ever allow a trophy to determine your standard and how much effort you give. You hold your head up because I don't care what the judge says, you did your best and I'm proud of you. I said, don't you ever let someone's opinion of you dictate where you're going, what you're capable of doing. And in the midst of that, I stopped and said, wait, whose fault is it really that they responded this way? I realized that I forgot my purpose for coming back. I forgot the why, the reason that I came back. I had a little ego. I said, no, we're shutting all of this down. I know better. My reality is a lot different than what I was giving them. So I shifted gears and I began to focus more on the students and their families and how well they were doing in school. And in fact, we probably spent 50% of our time off of the bandstand. And what I found is families began to get tighter. I would get phone calls from parents at night telling me how much they appreciate the change that they're seeing in their children. And they would start praying for me on the phone. I would see students becoming responsible for each other and accountable for each other. Way before FaceTime, students began to have sectionals over the phone at 10 o'clock at night without me telling them to do it. So I began to see this change. And I realized that, okay, when I see this change, it's good And now the music is even sounding better. Let's keep going. After that, we never chased trophies, but yet we were chosen to play at Midwest. We received a full endorsement from Jody Jazz Mouthpieces. We played at the ASCD conference in front of 12,000 people. All of these experiences began to come, but it wasn't by way of a trophy. It was the students began to do their all. We say give 100% of the time, no matter what. And your 100% may look different than it did last week, but always do your best. So we had great success. Greater success came when we began to chase our purpose and not trophies or our ego. And I met this one young lady, 7th grader. She came into my band room. She transferred in, sat down with her clarinet. I play clarinet. And I said, good for you. But this young lady, she worked so hard, day after day. And she was an okay clarinet player, but she worked hard. Straight A student. No matter how often or how much she messed up playing, she would always say, I want it better, I want it better. She was so driven. And after a few weeks, I got a chance to learn about her story. She was in Harvey because her parents had passed away. And she began to move from house to house. And she's in Harvey and working hard. I told her one day, I said, you know what? You inspire me. And she ended up graduating top of her class. She moved into another house and she had to go to a high school. And during her freshman year, her now parent had passed away. And it looked like she was going to be sent off even further. And so I said, I know better. We cannot allow this young lady to get caught up in the system. I needed to do whatever I was able to do to make sure she had an opportunity to be the best that she was able to be. So I spoke to my wife and we actually took her in as our daughter. We brought her in to be a part of our village. And she was in the best high school. She graduated at the top of her class with over $300,000 in scholarships. She won the top award from UCAN. Now this young lady is at Knox College in Galesburg studying biology to become a doctor. And so that's what it's about. When we talk about why the Griffin Institute, this is why. Because we can make a difference. And if we can, we should. So that's when the Griffin Institute was born. So now I have to figure out, okay, what have you gotten yourself up into? It didn't matter. There's a reason why. So let's go after it. So I found myself looking for buildings. I saw a 100,000 square foot building. Taxes were $100,000 a year. I want this building. I sat down and when, I talked to the realtor, they said, well, you don't have enough money, you gotta go. I said, no problem, I'll go. And I kept looking and looking, and finally we found a 5,000 square foot facility that was once home to a beauty supply. And it needed a lot of work. But I said, you know what? This is a perfect location. So I signed the lease. We took some money from our savings to begin work at this facility. And before you knew it, people would hear about this and began to donate money. And in 6 months, we raised $12,000. Community members began to come in. Families would come in on the weekends to help us wash walls. I would stay up sometimes all night. I would leave Brooks Middle School, go to this location, and frame walls. This is one of those nights. But because there was a reason why, it didn't matter. That is what drove me. That gave me strength. I had to actually go back and patch up some areas that they missed. But we had kids as young as 5 in there working. This was their investment because this was for them. It had nothing to do with me. It was for them. There was a reason. There was a why. And towards, after about 3 months, an electrician came in and said, I really, really admire what you're doing. I would like to donate $17,000 in material and labor to make sure these kids get what they need. And so it was done. And on June 3rd, 2017, we opened our doors. And since then, we have had over 150 performances. We have a youth employment program. So now we're able to hire students to come and play, to come and tutor other students. We have a meals program where no matter how hungry a kid comes in, they're going to leave full. We have a red rug at the front door so that every child that enters the Griffin Institute will always be able to say they walked the red carpet. We have classes. We're linking students with teachers, with electricians, with lawyers, with doctors, and professionals from all walks of life. We are the conduit to university. Every last senior, since our opening, every one of our seniors have received full scholarships to university. We've had poetry shows. We've had creative writing. We have had health and wellness seminars. And sometimes kids just come to listen to music and do their homework. This is what the Griffin Institute is. And I stand before you today, and I'm happy to tell you that in about 1 week, the Griffin Institute, we will be in line to receive a 25,000 square foot school, and it will be completely donated to us, and it's move-in ready. And I don't know how we're going to keep it up, but I didn't know how we was going to get this far. And at this point, because of my experience, I realized it doesn't matter how, it doesn't matter what will happen. It does not change the process. It does not change the effort. As long as I know why, everything will work out. And so I encourage you all today to continue to inspire. Use your why, use your purpose to get you through when your administrators are in your ear. To get you through when the classroom teacher comes and drops the kids off and say, hey, this is my plan. And they consider us babysitters, right? So I'm saying use that to get you through, to push you forward. Because there's a Precious Sullivan out there in your school. And that Precious Sullivan is counting on you to help them see the best them in their lives. So this is my purpose, and this is the Griffin Institute. Thank you.